Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Wednesday, March 5th, 2025. I am Dave Biddle flying solo on today's show. A lot to get into. I'm going to look at position battles entering spring and battles that are going to go on into fall camp as well. But with spring ball kicking off here in 12 days, March 17th, wanted to look at that. By the way, programming note, we're going to get Ryan Day this Friday and then all of the assistant coaches as well. The new ones, holdovers, the guys that got promoted, everybody, all of the assistant coaches and Coach Day this Friday. Jerry said late morning. Before we get to all that, I'll show you guys again about my wallet here. Yeah. That's an actual wallet. Yes, Ridge wallet. And it's a great conversation piece too. Conversation starter because people are like, there's no way that's a wallet. It's like, yeah, it sure is. And you guys can get a great deal. And they're our newest sponsor, which is really cool. I love when you guys buy stuff from our sponsors. It helps us out. And we think we're giving you guys good deals on stuff. So we'd like to welcome Ridge Wallet as our newest sponsor. Are you guys carrying around the same bulky, overstuffed leather wallet that you've had for years like I was? It's time for an upgrade. Meet Ridge Wallet, the sleek, minimalist wallet that's changing the game. Ridge wallets are extremely thin. You can hold up to 12 cards plus cash without unnecessary bulk. Made from premium, high-performance materials like carbon fiber, titanium, and stainless steel, Ridge wallets are built to last. In fact, they come with a lifetime warranty, meaning this is the last wallet you will ever need to buy. Lifetime warranty, pretty good. Right now, Ridge is having their once-a-year anniversary sale. Get up to 40% off at ridge.com/bucknuts. Just head to ridge.com/bucknuts to see their biggest sale of the year. After you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Again, 40% off, ridge.com/bucknuts. All right, let's get into it. First of all, thanks for everybody who is joining the show. I appreciate you guys tuning in. All right, position battles. Now, I think a decent amount of positions are pretty much set as far as starters, but there are several that are not. I think we pretty much know that Julian Sand is going to be the quarterback, but Ryan Day is not going to announce that till into fall camp. That's kind of his MO. So, and Lincoln Keenholz, I'm really glad that he's here to push him. Lincoln's entering his third year, a hell of a good athlete. And now this is entering his third year of just focusing on football. So this kid was the USA Today National Athlete of the Year in high school, regardless of size of high school, regardless of sport. He played a lot of sports. He was the National High School Athlete of the Year. So pretty nice having him as the backup, and it's going to be pretty nice having Tavian St. Clair here as well. But I think it's going to be Julian Sand. You listen to what the guys at the Combine, the OSU guys at the Combine are saying about Sand, what they're saying about Sand. Seriously, they're like gushing about him. Guys like Denzel Burke that are not afraid to say what's on their mind. Remember Denzel Burke last spring? We asked him about Will Howard. He's like, I need to see it a little bit more from Will Howard. And, I'm sure the coaches felt the same way too. They needed to see a little bit more from Will Howard. And then what did Will do? Had a great summer, lost weight, and then had a very good regular season and then just a spectacular postseason. So Denzel Burke was gushing about Julian Sand. That speaks volumes to me. He's not saying, Julian Sand, he might be okay. They might be all right with him. He's like, no, he's going to be the man. And he was one of several prominent Buckeyes at the Combine that talked about that. So I think Julian's going to be the quarterback. But I did want to start with that being the most important position on the field. And it's not set in stone by any means, but Julian, I think, is going to be the quarterback. Here is technically a redshirt freshman, played in 4 games. He'll be a redshirt freshman. Keenholz will be a third-year sophomore. And then, of course, Tavian St. Clair, true freshman. And I think Coach Day, and this is probably, I don't know if we'll ask him about this because there's going to be so much to ask him about. This might be something for a different day. But and I think it's pretty much fait accompli. It's going to happen. I think they're going to go after another quarterback in the portal just for depth. Because Ryan Day has always said he wants 4 quarterbacks, like 4 scholarship quarterbacks. So, all right, running back. I think it's going to be James Peoples. Again, going to what the guys at the Combine are saying, they're like, James Peoples is going to, we're losing 2 great ones, but James Peoples is going to be a dude. So, not a surprise, but they have not been teammates with C.J. Donaldson. So, that's going to be an actual competition. And I do think Peoples will be the starter, but I think Donaldson's going to play a lot. It might be similar to what we saw this year as far as the split of carries where both guys are basically starters, where you don't want to get one guy banged up. Now, if Peoples is clearly better, you're not just going to play Donaldson just to, just to have the carries relatively equal. But I do expect that those guys are going to be basically like 1A and 1B, kind of like, well, Quinshawn and Trey were 1A and 1A. So, but I think it's going to be more like 1A Peoples, 1B Donaldson. I think that's a heck of a good 1-2 punch. That's about as good as you could expect when you lose the best running back tandem that I've ever seen at Ohio State. Because I missed Archie and Pete barely. All right. I wrote the next one down, offensive guard. I think they're just going to do what they did last year. I mean, it worked out so well. It's just last year. It's still less than 2 months ago they won the national championship. Still basking. I hope you guys are still basking. I sure am. I was basking down there in Arizona. It was really cool. You had the Guardians fans, the Reds fans, and guess what? That means a bunch of Ohio State fans. So a lot of Reds gear, a lot of Guardians gear, a lot of national championship gear. We were literally basking in the sun with our national championship gear on. J-Book being one of them. All right, so offensive guard, it worked out so well, the 3-man rotation. Are they going to go away from it? I doubt it. Now you have a new offensive line coach, but you have the same head coach, and he's going to tell you what he's going to want to do. It worked out so well with Montgomery, Shabola, and Saraveld. Those guys played well, and Saraveld, I give him a lot of credit. He didn't even technically start the national championship game, but he was the one that played left guard and right guard. He actually played, I think, more snaps than the other guys, but wasn't technically a starter. It didn't matter. He was announced as a starter, but really Luke started at left guard, Tegra started at right guard, and then Austin would switch at both spots. Tegra would always stay at right guard. Luke would stay at left guard. I mean, not just stay there, but those are the only positions they played. And then Austin would play both sides. So it worked out so well. I say, why go away from it, especially now they're going to be a year older, a year bigger. Can Tegra get bigger? I don't know. He's a pretty strong young man. Yeah, you can get bigger, because we're going to get to the Mickey Marotti effect in just a moment when I talk about certain freshman defensive back whose mom might, or I can't really see all the comments, whose mother might or might not be listening to the show right now. So I think at the offensive guard, unless they move Hinsman, which I'm going to get to next, unless they decide they want to move Hinsman to guard and have Padilla take over at center, and I don't see why you're going to go away from that. So I kind of think, I don't think this is a cop-out. I think this is how they're going to do it. They're going to have a 3-man rotation again at the 2 guard spots. What's funny is Paul Brown used to use, I didn't even know this till this playoff run. I learned this about Paul Brown when he was with the Bengals as head coach, so we're talking very late 60s and then in the 70s for most of the 70s. He would rotate at the guard spots. He would have 3 guards rotating between the 2 spots. So he didn't do it like the reason Ohio State did. He did it to send in plays. He used guards to send in plays. So Paul Brown, always the innovator. I find that interesting. So I have Hinsman down as the center and then Padilla as the backup, but I know they like Padilla, and he's now entering his 3rd year. I love former wrestlers who are football players. If you didn't know that, you know that now. I love wrestlers, good high school wrestlers that played football. I'm a big believer, high school coaches, if your players are not wrestling or not playing a winter sport, you should have them wrestle. Even if they get their ass kicked, it'd be good for them in football. And they probably won't get their ass kicked. Even if they just practice and there's a better guy at their weight class or whatever on the team, just practicing wrestling is so good for football, particularly football linemen. But I'll go as far as to say any football player. So Padilla was a really good high school wrestler. Didn't even get a chance to wrestle his senior year because he enrolled early. As a junior at Wayne, he was the state runner-up, heavyweight state runner-up in wrestling. So and lost by 1 point in the state championship match. So the dude's a tough guy. Now he's entering his 3rd year. But Hinsman, he's now a decorated legend here in Columbus. So after being missing in action for half of the year, it's crazy how that turned out. So I don't know. That's to be determined. And these things have a way of working themselves. Hopefully everybody stays healthy. These things have a way of working themselves out through injury. But right now I have Hinsman at center and Padilla as the backup, but we'll see. Right tackle. I have left tackle just locked down with Onyanwa, Ethan Onyanwa. That's our guy at left tackle. I guess they could put him at right tackle, but he's definitely a starter. So then if he's the left tackle, big 6'6" transfer, 6'6", 345-pound transfer from Rice, who many thought would be a 2nd-round pick if he left this past year in this year's draft. He's locked in, I think, at left tackle, at the very least at right tackle. So that leaves 1 tackle spot open. You could kick Tegra out there, although I don't think Tegra really has the feet to play tackle. You can get quicker, though. Phillip Daniels is probably going to be the starter, but I wouldn't rule out Ian Moore either. But I think I think Daniels got a decent amount of coin in the transfer portal in the NIL. So I don't know if I don't know if they're bringing him in here as a backup. Although we'll see what happens. But I wouldn't rule out Ian Moore. So there you go. I mean, and then I think, at slot receiver, there'll be a competition because I think Bryson Rodgers is going to find a way to get on the field this year. But I think Brandon Ennis is going to be the new starter at the slot, replacing Emeka. I know I'm not breaking news there. So there you go. I mean, I think, and I'm going to get to the defense in a moment. And we'll even do some special teams. But I'm going to let you guys know about Gooder sunglasses and a great deal you can get. Do you want some stylish sunglasses starting at just $25 a pair? Gooder is the place for you and me. I'm a customer for sure. I was rocking my Operation Blackouts throughout my trip to Arizona for spring training. And you can pick from Gooder's wide variety of shades and get your own while getting a good deal and helping our show out. I highly recommend Gooder sunglasses. Get yourself a couple or 3 pairs. That's right. If you need a new pair of sunglasses, or 2 or 3, Gooder is giving Bucknuts Morning 5 listeners free shipping. You can go to gooder.com/Bucknuts and use code Bucknuts for free shipping. Gooder offers a 30-day money-back guarantee and 100% satisfaction. Again, that's gooder.com/Bucknuts. Use code Bucknuts for free shipping. I love that. They're not trying to trick people into well, yeah, they're only $25 a pair, but then we're going to charge you $15 for shipping. No. Get yourself a couple of $25, pay $50 and that's it. $50, no shipping fee at all with the code Bucknuts. All right, defense. Now, I think the starting defensive line is pretty much set unless they have injuries. And Caden Curry, Kenyatta Jackson, entering their 4th years, weight of their time, they're going to be the defensive ends, starting defensive ends. Caden McDonald and Edric Houston are going to be the starting defensive tackles. I don't think there's much doubt about that, but they need to develop depth. This is the one area I'll get into, depth instead of just talking about starters. Jason Moore and Will Smith Jr. at D tackle. It's a big spring for them. It'll be a big summer for them. It'll be a big camp for them because they're entering their 3rd year. And where on this team does Ohio State have a depth issue? Perhaps at D tackle. Unless those guys step up, then they don't have a depth issue at D tackle. That's how quickly that could change, because I really like Caden McDonald and Edric Houston. Caden entering his 3rd year, Edric entering his 2nd year. I mean, Caden McDonald was a huge part of those goal line stands last year. They had a lot of them, and I think he's just going to be a beast as a junior. And that's, when I'm talking about I like the starting defensive line, that's saying a lot when you're losing a stellar defensive line. I don't think they're going to be better than what we had last year. And the depth does concern me because all these guys were backups. All the guys that I say are locked in as starters, and maybe that's too strong of a word, were the backups and good. Caden Curry in his 3rd year, Kenyatta Jackson in his 3rd year, Caden McDonald was in his 2nd year. These guys were the backups. So who's going to step up and be those guys when those guys need a rest? I like getting the Logan George kid from Idaho State. Big jump in competition, going from the Bengals to the Buckeyes. Idaho State is the Bengals, which I never knew until Marvin Lewis was hired as the Bengals head coach, because he played at Idaho State, and in his bio it said that they were called the Bengals, and that's how I learned that. But anyway, Logan George, good get. He was a playmaker, but huge jump from that level to Ohio State. But still, he's not coming here to be a starter most likely. He's coming here to be the top backup. And I think C.J. Hicks is going to play off the edge. We'll see what Matt Patricia wants to do, and we'll get a chance to talk to Matt Patricia on Friday. If you're just now tuning into the show, I said that's at the top of the show. We're going to get Ryan Day and all of the assistant coaches, the new ones, holdovers, guys got promoted, everybody on Friday. So my guys on the beat that have just been itching. I joke about Patrick sometimes, Murphy, my boy Pat. I mean, Pat has been upset about this, about us not getting any access. It's kind of funny, actually. Steve and I are just we'll get him, and Pat's just, he's raring to go. He's a little upset that's been taking this, a lot upset. He's a lot upset. If you know Patrick, ask him. He's a lot upset it's taken this long. I'm like, let him enjoy the national championship. But we're going to get all the guys on Friday. So I think that's still, it's been, can I say this enough? It's been less than 2 months since the national championship. So still basking. So there you go. Defensive line. We need depth to step up. Linebacker, there's no real mystery to me. I mean, obviously Sonny's coming back. I think he's going to have a big year as a senior. He was laying some people out in the playoffs. And I think Arvell Reese is going to step right in for Cody Simon, who had a fantastic year. Fantastic year. But Arvell Reese is ready, baby. So those are going to be the starting linebackers. All right. I think there is one true freshman that has a chance to start. I'm not predicting he will start. One on the entire team. One true freshman has a chance to start. That's Tavian. No, I'm kidding. Devin Sanchez has the chance. And I thought that anyway. just based on what I saw from his. I've never seen him play in person, but I've seen him on film. We saw him in the All-Star game. We saw him. I bumped into him over at the WAC when he first enrolled, and he definitely wasn't small. Came in big. And what did we just read? Mickey Marotti in 2 months has put on 17 pounds of just rock onto Devin Sanchez's already solid frame. He's the one that has a chance to come in and start. And if he doesn't start, he's going to at least play. Now, I think it's a nice battle. Let's say they decide, because I think Devin's definitely going to be an outside corner eventually, but they do have IGB and Jermaine Matthews that are going to be the starting outside corners this year. So that leaves slot corner. And could it be Lorenzo Styles Jr.? Perhaps. He's entering his 5th year, and Devin's going to be a true freshman. I think Devin's going to be in the mix there at slot corner. And if they don't want to play him at slot corner, he's going to be the main guy, kind of the Jermaine Matthews of last year at corner, at the outside corner, where Jermaine Matthews was playing just as much as, the other guys, as Burke and IGB. And Jermaine was a sophomore, not a true freshman. So I think Devin's going to have a big role right away. And it makes a lot of sense. He's the top-rated player in the class, and they have decent depth there. It's not like they have like that he's got to start because they're in dire straits. It's not like that at all. Because there's other guys too that are going to be in the mix. Bryce West is entering his 2nd year. He's going to play. He didn't redshirt this past year, and he's one of the reasons some of these other guys transferred, like Calvin Simpson Hunt. They're like, well, I'm not going to. Bryce West has already passed me, and he's younger than me. And they're bringing in Devin Sanchez and these other guys. I better get the hell out of here. So with IGB back and Matthews, that's awesome. We're just talking corners here right now. I know Knowles called it slot corner or slot safety. Most saw it called a slot corner. It doesn't matter. It's the nickel. Presuming that's what Matt Patricia. Now, Matt Patricia is going to mix things up, though. He's not just going to do the same thing. Knowles mixed things up, though, too. They didn't just always have the same. They had some 3 linebacker sets. They had, obviously, some dime looks. So there's, when they go dime, Devin Sanchez is going to be in there. If he's not in the top 5, he'll definitely be in the top 6. Lorenzo Styles is a guy that junior, I think people tend to forget about. He came in, redshirted that first year, even though he played in 4 games. He was a wide receiver at Notre Dame. He had a transition to DB. They were so loaded at DB this past year. He's mostly a special teams guy. But I think as a 5th-year senior, he's going to play a lot in that secondary and probably in the slot. So that'll be a good battle between the 5th-year senior Lorenzo Styles Jr. and perhaps Devin Sanchez or perhaps Bryce West, depending on what they want to do with Devin. If they just want to say, you're going to be an outside corner, we're going to put you at outside corner, compete with IGB and Jermaine for a starting spot. Worst case, you're going to be first guy off the bench but play a lot. So he's the one true freshman that I am pointing to that could come in and at the very least play a lot and perhaps start. I don't see another true freshman that has a chance of starting. I could be wrong, but I don't see one. I think some people thought maybe Carter Lowe could come in. It's so hard as a true freshman to start on the offensive line. But now with the guys they got in the portal and all the guys they have coming back, the depth they were able to build on the offensive line, no need for that. So there you go. All right, safety. All right. It's good business when you have Caleb Downs back. Then you got to figure out who starts off or starts next to him. So Jalen McClain or Malik Hartford, that'll be a good battle. I have McClain, if I was projecting, I'd have McClain a little bit ahead of Hartford, but Malik's entering his 3rd year. Jalen's entering his 2nd. Both those guys are going to play, and that's going to be a good battle to watch there at safety. A real good battle to watch between Jalen McClain and Malik Hartford. So, excuse me, getting a little choked up here. Give me just a second. Let me get a drink of water. I get to talking about the Silver Bullets. I get all choked up. We're talking about the number 1 total defense, number 1 scoring defense in the country, reigning national champs. No big deal. Not a lot to live up to, boys. No, they're going to be good. I think getting Matt Patricia is one of those things. It's like, how are people not just over the moon about this? I think a lot of you are. But it reminds me a lot of Chip Kelly. It's like people are like, oh, yeah, okay, whatever. He flamed out in the NFL as a head coach. He wasn't that good at UCLA. As head coach at a place where it's really hard to win, UCLA. And he wasn't that bad. He wasn't that bad at all. And by the way, he wasn't that bad in the NFL. It ended really bad in the NFL. He was 10-6 his first 2 years with the Eagles, got in the playoffs. Not easy to go 10-6 in the NFL. Look at all the Urban Meyers and Nick Sabans of the world, Steve Spurriers that never could even approach winning 10 games in the NFL. Anyway, it doesn't even matter about that. It's hilarious. People talk about Matt Patricia, and they go, well, he wasn't a good head coach with the Lions. Well, he's not coming to Ohio State as head coach. He's coming here to be defensive coordinator. He won two Super Bowls as defensive coordinator with the Patriots. And I'm well aware of the Belichick coaching tree not being good. But when people talk about that, what are they talking about? Head coaches. Well, look at Josh McDaniels. Look at him. He's a terrible head coach, but he's a pretty good fit as an offensive coordinator. Charlie Weiss, Romeo Crennel. We could go on and on and on and on. Everybody's talking about those guys as head coaches, though. Matt Patricia, I think, was a home run hire as defensive coordinator. We shall see. And I think he's gotten a bad rap, unless he's just can really turn on the charm on certain podcasts and certain events that I've been watching that he's done over the last year or so during his sabbatical, so to speak. And that can have a way of rejuvenating a man. You take a year off from something that's a grind, that's an extreme grind. You just take a year off. And look at, to use a different sport, look at Tito Francona with the Reds, or as my buddy Dan Rubin calls him, Tito Franco. That might stick. Tito Franco. But Tito Francona, look at him. He took a year off. He's rejuvenated. It's the same thing he did. He took a year off after he left the Red Sox. Took a year off. Then he joined the Indians at the time. Now the Guardians, after taking a year off, then had a great run there. And then he took a year off, rejuvenated. So Matt Patricia maybe was, maybe needed a year off because he seems like, he looks like he's in good shape. He trimmed the beard. He got a nice haircut. You can definitely tell he's been working out, lost a lot of weight. So he looks good. So that's really not, that really it has nothing to do with what I'm talking about, that he looks good. But I don't know. It just shows that maybe he's just kind of rejuvenated. But I like getting Matt Patricia a lot. So we'll see what he wants to do with the schematics, what he's going to do with some of the players. And I'm sure he's not going to be anxious to tell us, the media, exactly what he's going to do. But it'll still be cool meeting him this Friday. I always love meeting the new coaches. All right, I'm going to get to some special teams conversation to finish the show, my friends. I know we're really getting into the cool stuff, right? Seriously, special teams is important. Who's going to be the kick returner this year? Who's going to be the punt returner? Caleb Downs. Is there going to be a competition at punter between a couple of Aussies that start their name with Mick? We'll find out. But anyway, I did say earlier that speaking of Mick Marotti just doing a great job with Devin Sanchez, and I'm hearing just shockingly he's doing a great job with all of the early enrollees. So, and look at Ohio State, how fresh they look down the stretch during a 16-game season, and people were giving Mick a hard time, I think, coming into the year. And look what happened. 16-game season, they looked fresh. They were the tougher team all 4 games. Look at how Ohio State was just hitting hard. They were the more physical team. They were the fresher team. And that is a feather in Mick's cap. Mick must have been eating a lot of Factor meals because he looks good. Mick's not a guy that's going to be eating a bunch of junk food. He likes high quality meals like Factor meals. And you guys know I love Factor meals, and we can get you guys a great deal. With Factor, you get fresh, never frozen meals, high quality, great tasting. It's healthy. There's no prep, ready in just 2 minutes, nothing to clean up. Those are wins all the way around right there. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast. Use code FACTORPODCAST to get 50% off your first box, plus free shipping. Let's code FACTORPODCAST at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off, plus free shipping on your first box. It's a heck of a good deal. 50% off plus free shipping, factormeals.com/factorpodcast. And if you have that person at work, making that frozen tilapia, stinking the place up, just turn them on to Factor, get them that, tell them about the 50% off Factor podcast. Go to factormeals.com/factorpodcast, 50% off, and your office will smell better. They'll be happy. That wins all the way around. Winning. You need to do the old front row radio and have Charlie Sheen, just different funny quotes. Mike Tyson was a very strong contributor to that show. But Charlie Sheen, when he went on his infamous rant, we played many a Charlie Sheen clip after that. I am on a drug. It's called Charlie Sheen. All right. I digress. Drink. All right. Punter. Let's get into that. It's the most important play in football. Joe McGuire comes back. Joe McGuire is the definition of steady, never spectacular. He's going to get you between 36 and 42 yards every time, never more, never less, unless he gets a long bounce, which I know he did a couple times. But I'm kind of joking, but he kind of came out of nowhere. We thought it'd be Nick McLarty, his countryman, big 6'7" Nick McLarty coming in here, because every time they get somebody from like Australia on scholarship, because McGuire came here as a walk-on, they start right away. Cam Johnston, being a great example. Even Jesse Mirko started right away as a freshman. So I just thought McLarty would come in and start right away, and he was too erratic. He's got the big leg, obviously. But McGuire was just more consistent. Can that change now that McLarty's going in his second year? Because McGuire went from no one even knew he was on the team his first year to being the guy his second year as a redshirt freshman. They listed him as a sophomore. He was a redshirt freshman. That's how they do it with walk-ons. They don't this is why you see a lot of walk-ons listed at senior, and then you're like, oh, they have another year. Yeah, because they never, ever, ever list them as like a third-year sophomore, for example, or a redshirt freshman if you're a walk-on. They only do that for the scholarship guys. So now that McLarty entering his second year, can he be more consistent? That's going to be something to watch this spring. Is it going to be as interesting as watching Julian Sand? Is it going to be as interesting as watching some of the true freshmen who have enrolled? Is it going to be as interesting as watching the transfers? No, but I'll be keeping my eyes and ears on everything. So I'll definitely be watching the punting battle. So I don't know. I mean, I guess I would, if I had to bet, I would say McGuire's going to keep the job. But man, hopefully McLarty, I shouldn't say hopefully because Joe's a really nice guy, but McLarty's got the potential to be a weapon, not just a guy that can not be a liability, I guess is the best way to put McGuire. He's not really a strength, not a weakness, just kind of a average punter. Use another baseball reference, I guess he would be like his WAR would be right at 0, wins above replacement. He's not costing you wins. He's not creating wins. His WAR is at 0, wins above replacement. He's a replacement level player, but not below that. So, all right, kick returner. I'd like to see Mylan Graham back there. What do you guys think about that? I'd like to see Mylan Graham now entering his second year. He's got wheels. It's going to be tough to see the field a lot at wide receiver when you've got J.J. Smith, Carnell Tate coming back. You got Brandon Ennis likely taking over in the slot. You got Bryson Rogers ready to play. And then Mylan Graham is going to play wide receiver this year, but how much? We see it all every year. How much did Brandon Ennis play this past year as the number 4 receiver? It wasn't like he was stuck to the bench, but he didn't play that much. Bryson Rogers is the number 5 receiver. How much did he play? Not that much. So if you're not in that top 3 Heartline, you can say whatever he's going to say during spring. Yeah, I'm going to play like 6 guys this year. No, he won't. He'll play the top 3 a lot. Because what has he said in the past? He's like, if I'm going to he used to use like Garrett Wilson as an example. Like, why don't you play your 4th receiver very much? Why don't you rotate in this guy very much? Well, he's like, if you're going to take Garrett Wilson, if I'm going to take Garrett Wilson off the field, then you need to be at least as good as him. Or why am I taking Garrett Wilson off the field? I think that's great logic. Unless a guy is gassed, yeah, why am I going to take J.J. Smith off the field? Or even let's say Brandon Ennis, unless you are better than him or as good. So, J.J. and Carnell Tate are not going off that field very often, and probably not Brandon Ennis either. So it's going to be tough for wide receivers 4 and 5 to see the field. So I'd like to see, Mylan Graham again. He'll get some run at wide receiver, but I'd like to see Mylan Graham at kick returner as the primary kick returner. They'll definitely use more than one guy. Punt returner, we got a taste of it last year, and it was a very, very, very great taste, and that is Caleb Downs as punt returner, had one of the plays of the year. Then it ended up being maybe like a 10th on the list after all the great plays in the playoffs, number 1 being Scoop and Sawyer. But one of the best plays of the season was his punt return against Indiana with the spin move. Just a great punt return. And, I think you let him now. It'll be his last year as a Buckeye. You let him do his thing, man. Let him and JJ battle it out for the Heisman. I say that a little bit in jest, but he's the best safety in college football, and we know that he's now returned a punt for a touchdown twice in his career, once at Alabama and once at Ohio State, and he hasn't even had that many opportunities. We were like, when's Ohio State going to return a kick again or a punt for a touchdown? Well, Caleb Downs took care of that. The last time being Jalen Marshall during the national championship season of 2014. So see, if you return a punt for a touchdown, national title. That's how that works. Or if they expand the amount of teams that make the playoffs, national title. That's how it works here in Columbus. All right, my friends, I appreciate you guys. I'm going to wrap it up here. Really appreciate all of you guys for tuning in, and hope everyone has a great rest of your day. Go Bucks.